Another guy whose mustache isn't much better than Aiden O'Connell's, if we're being candid, is Baker Mayfield. He is the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They play the Vikings in Week 1 coming up on September 10. Here's Todd Bowles talking about the decision to make the first overall pick in the 2018 draft his QB1, at least for now, in 2023.
There's a lot that goes into it. I can't sit up here and give you every detail. We go through mini camp, training camp, and OTAs, and we love everything Kyle has done. And he's gotten leaps and bounds better than he has in the spring, and he's continuing to get better, and we're excited about him. Baker's our guy right now, experience-wise and understanding the playbook just a little bit better. But Kyle's on the come, but we like both guys. We like where we're at. Baker's 1, Kyle's 2. All around, he can throw it. He's very smart. He understands football very well. He can read defenses. He's very good for the scheme we're using, as is Kyle. I'm not denying that either. But Baker is the guy we're going with right now, and we're comfortable with that.
This is just 2 days after Todd Bowles was asked about a timetable for naming a starter.
Yeah, that's odd.
And Bowles said, we have no timetable.
Right.
Well, how about starter for Week 3 preseason? Well, we'll meet as a staff and we'll let you know. So it created an expectation that there would be a multi-step process here. First, we find out who's starting the final preseason game. And second, presumably in the aftermath of that game, we find out who the starting quarterback is for Week 1. That's what made it odd. What made it even more unusual, there wasn't an announcement. There wasn't an opening statement of the press conference. Hey, I've got some news. I know you've been asking me about this question, and I want to let you know we did meet as a staff, and instead of simply deciding on who the starter will be for the preseason finale against the Ravens, we're just going to go ahead and name a starting quarterback. Is that okay with you? Because that's what I'm going to do. It didn't happen like that. He's just asked a normal question about whatever they're thinking, whatever they're doing, whatever their process is, and he blurts out Baker's the starter. It just was odd. And look, I don't know how much of this was, not every coach is a great communicator with the media. What matters is how you communicate with your team. Now, there's a certain element of the job where you have to be good with the media. You have to get your message across in a certain way. There are certain things you need to get across. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I heard right now twice from Todd Bowles in reference to Baker Mayfield. Right now. He's our guy right now.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, and, it didn't happen this way for the Seahawks last year because Geno Smith played well, but what I've always said is the winner of a quarterback competition wins, among other things, the right to be the first guy benched when things don't go well. So it could be Mayfield is the guy for now, and if they struggle, in part because he wasn't the guy to get enough reps to be ready for Week 1 when they go play Minnesota, and who the hell knows what Brian Flores is going to do defensively against the Buccaneers. If they struggle out of the gates and they lose some games, Kyle Trask could be the emergency option. And, we'll see. Again, last year it didn't work out that way for Geno Smith. He held the job all year long. But if they struggle, one of the easy things to do is flip to Trask, especially when twice Todd Bowles said, right now, Baker Mayfield's our guy.
Yeah, It's not easy being in that situation. I've been through it before in my life, college, and even the NFL. When you name the starter or anything like that, and okay, wait, it was a real competition, going on. You start the season, you're on notice for sure. You got somebody hovering over your shoulder, looking to take your job, and if you slip up or the team slips up, the blame's going to come your way. Baker Mayfield, he's been under that type of pressure. He should be able to handle that. I'm with you and Mike. I know you kind of heard first about, hey, Baker Mayfield, he's going to be the guy, right? I had always kind of heard that, and it seemed like it was going that way. Then we hit that little part in camp where Kyle Trask, I think, went through a period of time. I said that when I got back from the Hall of Fame. There were some people there from Tampa who were like, Trask has really come on here as of late and been impressive. He is the organizational guy. So, again, maybe they still look at him to be a possible the future of the franchise. So they're trying to, make this as smooth as they possibly can, right? But within that, I still don't understand how they, threw out the starter, maybe why it took so long. I appreciate the competition and all that. But like we talked about, your star receiver last week, he was talking about, hey, I'd like to know who the starting quarterback is. The team, they could say what they want. They want to know who's going to lead the troops there too. And then at the bottom line too is this is a huge year for the Bucs. It's a huge year for Todd Bowles. This is it for Todd Bowles. Was he really going to hand the keys to the car over to Kyle Trask here? That's where I think when it all comes down to that scenario right there, and Baker Mayfield is just physically better than Kyle Trask, right? And played more. I think that's why it's an easy decision. And he played good in his appearance that we're showing right here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, I know neither one of us are shocked he's a starter.
And look, we've heard from time to time this idea of Baker Mayfield has learned the offense, and it's all about who masters the offense and who's able to run the offense. And this gets back to something that we talk about from time to time, and every once in a while we'll get pushback from fans who maybe aren't as informed as they think they are about the way football works. We talk about quarterbacks who want to play for a team where the offense runs through them. That means the offense is designed for them. The offense is specifically constructed to get the absolute most out of what they do well, and they typically do a lot of things very well to justify having the offense run through them. This is clearly a case of the Buccaneers have an offense, and whoever runs it better is going to be the quarterback, without a lot of tailoring to the guy who they want the quarterback to be. Now, I'm sure there'll be some adjustments and some, smoothing out of some rough edges. But, Chris, I've gotten the impression all along, Dave Canales has brought a system to Tampa. And factor one in determining who the starting quarterback is, which guy runs this system better, not which guy is the better quarterback.
Yeah, sure. And then that's, again, where Baker being around, been in a system like this or similar to this before and played more football. He's got some advantages there, even though this is, Kyle Trask, who's been in Tampa here for a little bit and learned under Brady and everything there. But it's a new system here, so he's learning too. I mean, he's a rookie again in that department. So Baker Mayfield has the advantage there. And system, and then I think, the one thing I constantly heard, right, whether it was at the Hall of Fame or even talking to some Jets people, right, just through text, because this is how our lives work, right? Pull back the curtains, and one of the things I wanted to know just through text, and I was texting about random stuff, but then I went, what'd you think of Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield last week, right? And, the one thing, hey, Trask looks good, but, man, he's physically not like Baker. He can't throw it like Baker. And, that was the one thing I heard from people in Tampa at Hall of Fame. I think a lot of people were surprised how strong his arm was in person. And, of course, the Jets got to see that a little bit. But my point being there, too, is, we know run the system. But you got an offensive line that's certainly a question mark. All right, so that's where the experienced guy helps there. And then we got, how explosive are the Bucs? Can they run the ball? Where are plays going to come from? We know Mike Evans is still good, but let's be serious. It's on the downslope of the career, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful there. Is Chris Godwin the same? And Baker Mayfield, with his arm, I do think adds a bit of an explosive part to their offense that maybe Kyle Trask couldn't bring to the table. As long as he takes care of the football, I think that's another big positive for this football team overall.
Take care of the football, take care of his body. Remember, this guy was on the cusp of franchise quarterback status after the 2020 season. It was week 2 of 2021. He throws an interception against the Texans. He gets pissed off, and he goes to make the tackle, and he injures his shoulder. And he's messed up for the rest of the year, playing with a brace, fights through it, had an entitlement attitude about his job in Cleveland, refused to come out, refused to surrender. And I like that attitude.
I do too.
I'm going to show up and I'm going to work no matter what. I'm going to fight through it no matter what. But there's a point where you have to acknowledge reality, and I think this was part of the disenchantment that happened between the Browns and Mayfield. He was so stubborn about it. He was so salty with the media. He needed to mature, and I think through that experience he did. But a lot of people just want to write Baker Mayfield off. He had 2 good years, 2018 and 2020. 2019 went sideways for a variety of reasons. By the way, Ravens coach Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator that year and somehow escapes any scrutiny for how that year went so poorly for the Browns. They think they got Bill Walsh in Baltimore running the offense now. 21 was a washout due to injury. 22 was a weird upside-down year for Mayfield. 2020, they went to Kansas City and had the Chiefs on the ropes in the divisional round of the playoffs. It was a close game. It was an exciting game. They were there. They had arrived. We were like, the Browns are finally good. How can we handle this? How can our brains process the fact the Browns are good? And then all of a sudden, it wasn't the Browns, it was the Bengals that we had to process are good. And the Browns are back to being just whatever it is they're going to be, and they're trying to find a way out of this mess they've been in. And Mayfield has just forgotten. If Mayfield can play like he did in 2018 and 2020, all of a sudden he's going to be back in the conversation like 10 to 15 in the NFL. I don't know that he's top 10. It's going to take playoff success, I think. It's going to take some decent numbers. He's got to stay healthy, but he at least gets another opportunity. I thought it was fun that he said now's not the time to be satisfied. If anybody wouldn't be satisfied, it would be him. He's had no reason to be complacent. He's had no reason to be satisfied. He's been fighting, just like Deshaun Watson, for very different reasons. Their best football happened 3 years ago. It's been a long 3 years for both guys. This is their chance to redeem their careers and turn things around. So, I don't know, sometimes I think guys just say what they think they have to say, but of course it's not the time for Baker Mayfield to be satisfied. He's still got a long climb to get back to even be close to what he was before the past couple of seasons went sideways for him.
He does. He unfortunately, maybe being a little spoiled by being the first pick by an organization, but I think ultimately not maybe playing the politics of the sport the right way have put him here. And you kind of laid it out. Hurt the shoulder, gutted out, not playing that good. They kind of want to replace him, but he's going to be tough and stubborn and hang in there, right? Okay, hey, I respect that, all of that. And then let's be serious too. Listen, I know Baker Mayfield wasn't perfect before that, and there wasn't, there was talk about people in the organization weren't thrilled with him, but the way they treated him and disrespected him and how the whole Deshaun Watson thing went down, okay, he had every right to be angry there. Now, maybe revisionist history, maybe he wishes he didn't, stomp his feet and pound the table quite the way he did, and maybe they wouldn't have, maybe he wouldn't be in this situation. Maybe it wouldn't have been so cutthroat, right? But they disrespected him. He felt like they didn't communicate to him the right way, and they said, okay, that's it. And he said, I don't want to play for you anymore, and that made them desperate to Deshaun Watson. And then he got put in two spots where, it was tough. Carolina, we know that was not easy early on last year. I don't care who was at quarterback. He goes to the Rams, did some really good things, showed you how smart and talented he is to be able to pick that up and play the way he did there in such short notice. All right, so now it's just, I don't doubt Baker Mayfield. I just doubt, can the Bucs support him the right way to where he can look like Baker Mayfield of 2020 again? I'm not saying he's a bona fide top 10 quarterback, but I think you said it right. I look at it and go, he's a top half of the league talent. He is. There's a reason he was the number one pick. And now it's about, can he get on a team again that can, support him the right way to where he can show his skills and be that guy again. And that's, I think, a big question in Tampa. And I think that's part of why Todd Bowles says he's the starter right now, because I'm sure he's got questions about his team on offense as well.
And, weird dynamic, 2018 draft. First pick, Baker Mayfield. Third pick, Sam Darnold. Seventh pick, Josh Allen. 10th pick, Josh Rosen. 32nd pick, Lamar Jackson. Jackson was the first one to break out, MVP in the second year. Josh Allen followed in 2020. Mayfield had those up and down moments. We've kind of settled in 5 years later as 40% success rate, Allen and Jackson. Now, you got this opportunity, both for Mayfield and Darnold, to find a little something.
Right.
5 years in.
Right.
For a position where you can play into your 30s, you can play into your 40s. So, potentially, I think Tom Brady may have screwed up our expectations as to how long quarterbacks can play. But regardless, you can play into your late 30s.
About late 30s for sure,
Maybe,
no doubt.
Maybe Mayfield and Darnold are going to figure something out with, their third or fourth team each, as the case may be. It's been Browns, Panthers, Rams, now Bucs for Mayfield, and it was Jets, Panthers, and now 49ers for Darnold, but they still have a chance. And Darnold, obviously isn't on the field yet and may not be. Who knows? But there's just kind of this vibe. Both guys have this opportunity to turn around, and, we'll see what happens. Look, there aren't enough good quarterbacks to go around.
That's right.
And as Mayfield said, only 32 guys have these gigs. So he's won the competition. He has humbled himself, especially financially. He gave up $4.5 million last year to get out of Cleveland and go to Carolina. He could have just folded his arms and said, I want my $19 million plus on my fifth-year option. Pay me. Pay me. You don't want to play me? That's fine. Pay me. You want to play Jacoby Brissett the first 11 games of the season while Deshaun Watson suspended? Fine. You still got to pay me. He could have done that. He didn't. He gave up $4.5 million. In hindsight, maybe he should have taken the $4.5 million. He's got this contract now that only pays him a $4 million base with $4.5 million in incentives. And meanwhile, he was asked about this yesterday. The legal proceeding that he and his wife initiated last week,
right,
and the news of it broke over the weekend about the $12 million that's gone. He said yesterday it's not a distraction. It's been a long time coming. They're finally trying to get this all figured out. So, and think of it this way in your own life. If you've got something, whatever it may be, financial or anything, if you've got something that's just kind of quietly been lingering and you haven't done anything about it to get it fixed, whatever it is, a health issue, something with your car, something in your house, whatever it is, you go through that period of, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. It creates more stress in that phase of its existence than when you finally decide I'm going to get it taken care of. So from Mayfield's perspective, the fact that they finally decided we're not going to delay, we're not going to wonder, we're not going to let this just eat at us as we are curious about what happened to our money. We're going to go find out what happened to our money. So in some strange way, it minimizes the distraction because you're finally doing something about it. You entrust it to the lawyers. They're taking care of it. I'm focusing on football. I'm not going to worry about this anymore.
Right.
I'm worrying about making my money now, making more of it this year by hitting my incentives and setting myself up for something next year where I can really start making back the kind of money I should have been making all along.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. This kind of the way he phrased that and the fact that it's been on the radar and that it's being taken care of is actually, when it's put that way, you go, oh, okay, he's not worried about this. It's kind of in the rear view mirror. It's being taken care of. There's nothing he can do now. And with Baker Mayfield, I know enough people around him, whether it was Cleveland, he loves football. He loves football. He's obsessed with it. He's going to work at it. He wants to be the man, the starting quarterback, and that's why he was willing to take less money last year and is willing to do it again this year, to be that guy and, kind of climb the mountain again to get on top there. So we'll see where it goes. But, yeah, I think, again, we kind of brought it up yesterday, but some of these quarterbacks, we just can't be too quick to discard them and get rid of them. We can't. Like you said, there's, quarterbacks are always going to be a premium asset in football, whether it's a starter or a backup. And that's important. And we got to be patient. We went through this period of time where we just discarded high draft picks right away. And, you look at Daniel Jones and you look at Troy Aikman or Phil Simms or Terry Bradshaw. Geez, if teams gave up on them after 2 or 3 years, well, geez, that would have been a disaster. They were patient, and, not everybody's in the right situation, right? Oh, Jim Plunkett gets drafted by the crappy-ass Patriots in the middle of the 70s. Oh, now he's on the Raiders. They're kind of good. Wins 2 Super Bowls. Oh, I thought he was the worst first pick ever. So, that's where, I think as a public, as people on TV and all that too, we got to take all that into account with some of these guys and the situations they were in. They weren't easy.
So many of these guys just need an opportunity to play, develop, and grow. Trey Lance.
Sure.
He desperately needs a change of scenery. I wish the 49ers would trade him to someone else where he would have an opportunity to play. The 49ers have basically decided it's not in the cards there. They got Brock Purdy. That's worked out. That's fine. The problem is the 49ers are too freaked out about possibly needing Trey Lance this year because of whatever curse was applied to them.
Seriously.
I don't know who.
What did Kyle do?
How.
What did Kyle do to the quarterback gods of the world? What did he do?
Somebody out there's got some potent magic or whatever it is. Maybe it was that guy from Hard Knocks last week.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah, blame him again.
Like
I thought he wasn't that
Kyle.
powerful, but now he's got magic, huh? Oh, okay. See,
It's
you're talking out of both sides of your mouth over there.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.